Go.
Yes, we are recording. Okay, we're gonna have to blow through it since it took me so long to figure that out. So let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna move to the questions. Okay, so basically this case was the guy in charge of filling the newly vacant senior analyst role, going through the interview, well, the searching process, the interview process, and the selection process for the new employee. And he also had to deal with whether or not to permanently promote the junior analyst that was temporarily filling the position. I think he had a couple of wiener candidates and a couple of really good candidates, so he had to, weigh the pros and cons. But to me, each candidate had at least one negative that he had to figure out. So it was an interesting one, a lot of material to cover. So let's get started. Let's discuss the pros and cons for all the candidates. Why don't I go with one and we can go around and each do a candidate. I will start with Gerald Baum, I believe his name was. He had, for his pros, he seemed to have a natural talent in stock picking and his understanding of the technologies market. But my heavens, he was a jerk. He's the one who fired his assistant in front of clients in the middle of a presentation. He was obviously super focused on the compensation of the position more than he was about anything else. And he seemed to not get along with any of his junior associates or analysts, junior analysts or assistants. They didn't want to come even interview with him or anything like that. So that was a major con. Let's have Gabe go. Here, let me shut mine off.
So I think we're telling about the. I'll do Gerald. You're not. You do Gerald. I'll do what's his name?
David Hughes.
David Hughes. That's right. That's the one I think. So David Hughes, he had a lot of good things. He had a lot of contacts in Wall Street. He had lots of experience with that specific market. He contacted. So what else? The only down thing that was bad about Gerald was the compensation, and then that kind of a complaint. Or sorry. David Hughes. I keep saying Gerald. David Hughes was that when he was on vacation with his grandkids, that he wouldn't go back to the office for work because I don't know what he could do it because he was on vacation. So that was one of the downsides.
Okay, Jared, do you want to take another candidate?
So we just went over Gerald
and David Hughes.
David Hughes. Well, I'll take Sonia. Well, she was, to me, was kind of the odd man out per se in this particular article. Sorry, I just turned my video on here. Get back on my article. I got my notes. Obviously, she came from she was from a smaller company, didn't have the big company experience, but she seemed to say all the right things in her interview, and she seemed like she was pretty excited about having an opportunity to have some of the access to the things she would have versus what she had with the small company. And to me, that kind of said, there's someone that would have some more excitement for an opportunity, though she didn't have the same level of experience that I think that all the other interviewers or interviewees had. But that kind of, I don't know, I've found myself kind of thinking, well, she almost seemed like she would be a good risk, or chance to take, because some of the other ones were kind of had a lot of negative points. But I think the thing that kind of bothered me, though, was the whole thing about her having kids. That was brought up a couple of times, and that kind of bothered me, just kind of like, and I can kind of see that. I mean, I've seen that in, jobs over the years, or, I mean, I live in Idaho now, but I lived in Oregon most of my life till, 7-8 months ago. And, you know, people, when you got 4 kids in Oregon, they look at you like, what's wrong with you, man? But now it's just I have an average family here. And so, I've kind of been through that a little bit. And so people do look at you a little bit differently when you're in that kind of environment. So I guess I kind of had a little sympathy vibe going on for what she was dealing with, though I'm not a single parent like she is, but I don't know. So I kind of, like I said, just kind of found myself thinking that, you know, maybe there's a risk, you know, maybe she deserves a shot kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, Bartholomew, why don't you get Seth Horkum?
Which one? Which one do you want me to take?
Seth, I think his last name was Horkum. Porkum?
No,
Something like Horkum.
Okay, Seth Horker. Okay.
Yes.
So Seth Horker, he had a lot of experience looking at, he has a lot of technical background in terms of sales, and he have a whole lot of connections, and he has worked in the semiconductor industry over the years, and based on that experience, he was able to, you know, impress Steve Cannon to the extent that he wanted to put his bet on him. But one thing that I really like about Seth Horker is that he wanted to, you know, impress, even though Stephen did not have opportunity to gather any information about him from external party. But when it came to the interview, he was able to impress him enough, try to show him the kind of stuff that he has done over the years. And that's one probable thing that got Stephen's attention. But to me, looking at this case, I didn't agree with any of the candidates that he has shortlisted, apart from Sonia, because looking at Sonia's performance over the years, she was just in a small boutique firm, but she was able to do impressive things. So even though Seth has done a whole lot of a bunch of things, and he has access to major CEOs, that is one thing that Stephen want to put a bet on him.
Okay. Well, let's go to the next one. Let's all quickly just say who we think they should hire and why. Just a real quickie one. Gabe, do you want to take this one? Me.
So I think, so what I put down for me for who I would hire, I put David Hughes. One of the biggest things that I thought was that so with the first candidate, Gerald Bohm, he really talked about what he could take from the company. What is the company giving me? And one of the things that David Hughes was able to do is share like what he can provide for the company. And one of the biggest things was he would teach others. And so, you know, that would kind of give him like a benefit over all the other ones, just because he can improve the company, you know, that much more by teaching them. So I think another thing is, like, I think I already mentioned his experience, and then all the, you know, I think the minor that was a minor thing. This was minor, and then the vacation issue, I think that was minor too. I think, you know, sometimes that kind of stuff happens. So
Okay, I'll go next. I said that Sonia should be hired because I felt like she provided some of the best strengths, although some of the other candidates had a few more strengths than her. But she most importantly provided the least amount of risk. She wasn't compensation centered. She was willing to grow and expand herself and the firm that she would work for. Jared, what about you?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that one. I would have, chose Sonia as well. I just really liked her attitude and desire and willingness to grow with the company, and her background was different, not as much experience as the other ones, but I don't know. Sometimes you just kind of get that feeling you need to give somebody else a shot. And I think that's kind of where I was with her.
Okay, Bartholomew, how about you?
I will hire Sonia because looking at what Stephen was looking for, he is looking for somebody who can write a great report, somebody who has who is a client focused, somebody who thinks about things in a global perspective. And looking at all other candidates, Sonia demonstrates that capability, even though she didn't have the opportunity to work in a large firm. She was able to, write a good report for clients, and she was also able to build a connection with major CEOs. So based on that, I think Sonia, when given the platform, and one thing that we shouldn't forget, even when she was in a small boutique firm, she didn't have a junior analyst and a supporting staff, but she was able to do a pretty good job, and that is something that if she made a transition to the big firm where she's going to have access to a junior analyst and other supporting staff, I think she will be able to do the great work. Looking at other candidates like David Hughes, for him, he's even getting old, and something that the people thought older people, the analyst job is not going to be a game for older people. So putting David Hughes on that seat may, in the long term, the company might not be able to derive the benefit that they want. So if they pick Sonia, they will be able to get the right benefit from her because she's going to stay for a very long time and she's willing to take any amount. So that's one thing that I think why Sonia should be hired.
Okay, so it sounds like three of us would hire Sonia and Gabe would hire David Hughes. So we'll go with Sonia on this one. So now we need to discuss the salary. I open up the salary document and it shows if they kept Rena in that position, she would make $300,000 a year. Sonia hired would be $700,000. Seth would be $1 million. Gerald Baum would be $1.2 million, and David would be $1.5 million. So we're supposed to discuss whether or not this information changes our mind. And for me, for Sonia, this even makes her deal even sweeter because the company would be spending less than half of what they would on the next best candidate in my mind, which is David Hughes. So they're getting nearly equal candidate with half, $800,000 in savings. So I think it solidifies my opinions. Anyone have any opinions on that? Okay, cool. Good talk. So how about the next question is, should Stephen give Rena a permanent offer or hire outside the company? We've already kind of covered that. We think Sonia should be hired. Should Stephen let Peter go? Let's have you take this one, Jared. Do you think Stephen should let Peter go? Okay.
That's a good question. you know, I'm not sure what my opinion is on that, to be honest with you.
Well, I kind of think Steven, it says, should Steven have let Peter go? I don't think Peter really gave him an option like, hey, I'll stay if you give me this money. It sounds like Steven just said, hey, I'm out of here. So, I mean, Peter said that. So I think Steven should let him go. All right. Bartholomew, you get the next one. Should Steven have talked with the recruiter to ask about Seth?
The question again?
It says, should Steven have talked with the recruiter to ask about Seth Holcomb?
No, I think you should have asked a lot of information about Seth Hawker, but apparently he didn't. He tried to get that information, but he didn't get any contact to be able to request that information. So Seth Hawker, even though when he came to the interview, he was able to provide some information that really interests Steven. I think he still needs to be able to find some contact and be able to gather some information about him, because probably who knows, maybe he can fabricate some kind of stories and tell him that he's really good at it, and later on he might hire him, and that would be the wrong decision that would have even made. So I think if he talks to some recruiter that may have some information about him, to be a good deal for him.
Yeah, I think so too. So let's see the next one. Does the performance at one firm guarantee high performance at another firm? Gabe, you want this one? Be quick, do my deal.
All right. So I think high performance in one firm does not necessarily mean high performance in another. I think especially, we saw that Gerald was a high performer in his firm, but he wasn't able to work as a team. So that doesn't, is it RSH firm? They were more team based. Where Gerald came from, they were like focused on themselves and what they were going to make. So from that's what I think, is that not necessarily if there's like a similar culture, then maybe that there could be the same amount of success. But other than that, yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. So let's discuss the human capital. Let's see, what was that? What were the categories? General human capital. I felt like that one was most embodied in Sonia, because she seemed to excel in all of the ways that were, under scrutiny. She was able to form relationships quickly with the people at the firm. She built up the last firm that she worked for really well. She knew the industry well, and it was said that she had a good understanding of what was going on and what might happen in the technologies market. So altogether, into general. Does anyone have any comments? I think we covered it all. Any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions.
Not really.
All right. Well, it's been a slice, guys. I will send this puppy in, and we will marvel in our wonderful grades. It's been a pleasure. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks for your help.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Right. Okay, bye.
Okay, so Gabe,
Mm-hmm.
I hit stop broadcast.
Yeah, and then